Earlier today, Russian President Vladimir Putin said the country will not be threatened and forces are always in a state of readiness. He made the remarks during a Victory Day speech, the annual celebration of the Soviet Union defeating Nazi Germany in World War II. Holly Williams is following this for us this morning. So, Holly, tell us, what else did Vladimir Putin have to say?
Good morning, Vlad and Anne-Marie. Well, I think Putin said exactly what we would think he would say on Victory Day. He praised the Russian military. He blamed the West, and more specifically Western elites, for causing conflicts around the world. And he sought to, I think, kind of rally the Russian people, saying, quote, "Russia is going through a difficult, crucial period. The fate of the motherland depends on each of us." Russia, of course, is at war. It is more alienated from the West than it's been since the end of the Cold War, and Putin himself is under indictment by the International Criminal Court. Putin also said today that there was nothing unusual about Russia holding nuclear drills, practicing for the use of tactical nuclear weapons. That was announced by the Russian military on Monday. But on the contrary, outside of Russia, that announcement has been interpreted as a warning or a threat, perhaps trying to push the West to dial back its support for Ukraine, or even frighten Ukrainians into some kind of a compromise, which would presumably mean giving up some of their country, their land, to Russia.
With this war in Ukraine, much has been made about the level of the Russian military's weapons, that they are pulling out Soviet-era weaponry to sort of spit-shine them and put them back out there on the front line. What is the significance of the weaponry that we saw in this parade?
Right. So, look, the parade sees thousands of Russian service people marching through central Moscow. It's the most important non-religious celebration, non-religious holiday in Russia. And as you've just pointed out, in previous years, people have often looked at this parade, both inside and outside Russia, to see what new military technology Russia might have, or that the Kremlin might be wanting to show off. Although, as you just suggested there, Anne-Marie, one thing that's really come out of the war in Ukraine, that the war in Ukraine has shown, is that Russian military technology is not as advanced as many people thought it was before the war. We've seen Russians using, in many cases, outdated Soviet-era weapons in Ukraine, and in some cases, not using them very well. I think what's more interesting than the military technology in this parade is really the symbolism. Victory Day, as you pointed out, Vlad, celebrates the defeat of Nazi Germany. I think that defeat resonates in Russia even more than it does in Europe and the US. And perhaps that's because since World War II, Russians arguably have not had too much that was kind of glorious in their history. They had the failed communist experiment, they had the collapse of the Soviet Union and the humiliations that followed. And I think for that reason, we've seen Vladimir Putin try and connect the war in Ukraine to World War II, even justifying it by saying it's, they're undertaking the denazification of Ukraine. The irony there, of course, is that Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky is himself Jewish. His grandfather fought against the Nazis. And while there's a far right-wing element in Ukraine, there's also one in Russia. And, for that matter, there's also one in the US.
At least 8 people were injured in a Ukrainian attack on the Russian city of Belgorod. What more do you know about that, Holly?
So we have a Russian official saying that this was a Ukrainian air attack that damaged residential buildings in Belgorod. This is not new. We have seen these attacks on Belgorod over and over again during the war. It's very close to Ukraine's border. Now, this comes just days after the UK's foreign minister said earlier this month on a visit to Kyiv that Ukraine can use British weapons inside Russia. Now, that's extremely interesting because the US has been quite anxious about Ukrainian attacks on Russian territory, presumably because the US fears an escalation.
All right, Holly, thank you very much.